Okay, delighted to say over at patreon.com/Heaver, and thanks to those of you so far who've become patrons, there is now an exclusive column from Patrick O'Flynn, the O'Flynn Factor, hopefully going to be a regular feature. And Patrick, in your first edition of the O'Flynn Factor that people can go and read at patreon.com/Heaver, you say that Boris Johnson is facing a big crisis.
Yeah, I think he is, and it's self-induced. The poll lead over Labour has halved in a month. You're not getting Tories jumping over to say they're going to vote Labour, but you're getting a big section of the Tory vote going on strike, and they're really annoyed with Boris Johnson about a variety of issues. Some of it is sort of on the handling of COVID and trying to exempt himself and his pals from some of the rules. Perhaps the vaccine passports thing, and a bit of the green agenda, nervousness about how much it's all going to cost. But the biggest factor by far, I'm convinced, is the complete failure to tackle the cross-channel irregular migration, with the numbers going up and up, and promises by Boris Johnson and Priti Patel never being fulfilled.
Now, Patrick, there was some speculation recently that Priti Patel could be replaced as Home Secretary by Michael Gove. In your eyes, where does the blame lie for this crisis? Is it with Prime Minister Boris Johnson? Is it with Home Secretary Priti Patel? And do you think a new Home Secretary would make a big difference here?
I think they sort of have to share it a bit. Priti Patel has overpromised and under-delivered for about 18 months now on this issue. She keeps saying she's doing deals with France that are going to completely shut down the cross-channel route as a viable route. She's talked empty threats about pushing back boats. She's lashed out at TikTok for allowing the videos to be shared. You know, the RNLI is getting blamed, and she's not sorting the issue out. And she's now saying building a new reception centre at Dover is part of a sustainable solution. Well, if you think that through, that just means that she's anticipating this volume of arrivals carrying on in perpetuity. So all that is not what her supporters would want. But the ultimate blame, I'm certain, lies with Boris Johnson, who must know, and I think does know, and was told by Dominic Cummings as well as Priti Patel, that the way to sort this out is to move to offshore processing of illegal immigrants and would-be asylum seekers, so they don't get that kind of ability to just set foot on British soil and reside here having landed illegally. And perhaps a deal could have been done with a country maybe in Africa or a British overseas dependency, and that would have reduced the pull factor and drastically cut the number of people willing to pay £4,000 or £5,000 to people smugglers to be sailed across the channel. I think he bottled it. And he's the one who pledged when he first became Prime Minister, we will send you back. He pledged to get a grip. He hasn't done it. And in my view, he's the actual block against effective action on this measure. And it's all feeding into this idea of Boris Johnson as this wonky shopping trolley, this person who never actually sticks to an agenda and sees it through. And it's undermining his personal standing.
Now, in your article, The O'Flynn Factor, you talk about it being a sign of the times that the Conservative PM should fear Nigel Farage, someone no longer involved in party politics, more than he fears the Labour leader of the opposition.
Well, I do think it's quite striking that not just on the illegal migration issue, but potentially looking ahead on issues such as the radical green agenda, that the government is most worried, and Boris Johnson personally most scared of the platform Nigel Farage has, because, you know, logic would say that actually there should be a centre-right populist party there that should be on 10-15% at the moment, and that's just not happened. It's not happened for Reform, it's not happened for Reclaim, but the big worry for the government is that Nigel Farage is now on television making these points now, even without that explicitly Farage party for people to vote for. Boris Johnson, I'm told, is seriously worried, and we're going to have to rely on Nigel and his TV programme, I think, to actually push the agenda on big issues that not just habitual Conservative voters, but maybe some of those old Red Wall former Labour voters really care about, with border control, law and order, not ripping out our gas boilers, all that sort of common sense stuff. We're relying on someone who's not even in politics to be the voice of the political opinion of millions. And, you know, it's a great tribute to Nigel about the power of the platform he's got and his ability to mark out the issues. But we really could do with some backup of a viable political party representing all these positions.
And finally, Patrick, how do you see this playing out? Obviously, we've seen the numbers escalate. It's happened year after year now. Do you think Boris Johnson and Priti Patel ultimately are going to get a handle on this crisis?
I think, you know, Boris Johnson's clearly feeling a bit ratty at the moment, and we're told not only is he talking about demoting and moving Priti Patel, he's perhaps talking about elbowing out Rishi Sunak. I don't think this is very well thought through. We've got Priti Patel's immigration and nationality bill going through the Commons, and that might tweak things and make things marginally less attractive for people coming across in the boats. But fundamentally, I think we'll be back where we are now next summer. The arrivals will be just as high or even higher. And that's about when Boris Johnson excuses really will run out massively with most conservative-minded voters. I think he'll have a little bounce in the autumn personally, because I think we're coming out of COVID ahead of the game, and he's bound to get some pats on the back for that. And the British economy is going to do relatively well. But I think summer 2022, if we're back at 300, 400, 500 migrants a day, then really that's the moment where the government's either going to be seen to move to offshore processing or be seen to have run up the white flag. And if the latter is what happens, I think they will pay a heavy price with many conservative-minded voters.
Well, guys, do go and check out the O'Flynn Factor column over at patreon.com/Heaver. Myself and Patrick will be back with the next edition of the O'Flynn Factor next week. Cheers, Patrick.
Looking forward to it.